welcome everyone. Whoop, here we go. Yeah, welcome everyone to the last session of the Tech Days. It's a privilege to be the last one and to let you go home after that. My name is Berthier Lemieux. I'm a technology wizard at Nokia, and I'm from Tampere site. Anyone from Tampere here? Can you drive me back? Yes, it's really a privilege. It's really a great thing that I can come here and talk about the camera lenses, because imaging is very important for Nokia. It's one place where we really especially shine. It's important as well for us in Tampere site, because most of the imaging R&D is done in Tampere. And while our flagship, the 920, is really one of the best imaging phone available out there. So imaging very important for us at Nokia, and now with Windows Phone 8, Microsoft did this great new feature called the camera lens. So today what we're going to do, we're going to look at what is a camera lens, how you can implement one. I'm going to fire up Visual Studio and quickly write one lens. Then we'll look at the other means that you have as a developer to integrate into the Microsoft ecosystem, or how to make your application more visible for the end users when they look at their pictures. Finally, we'll have a look at the new camera capture API that comes with Windows Phone 8. Now, perhaps in the flyers that you've got, this talk was graded as level 4. I don't think I'm going to get that high, 400. So I'll probably just keep it to 300. But since now we're not too many today, and my talk will probably not last a full hour, so please stop me at any point if there's something you want to clarify, and we can talk about it on the fly. All right, so we have plenty of gift to give. I have also batteries here for good questions. So please ask good questions. Yes, a little bit more about me here. I'm a technology wizard, whatever that means, but I'm working in the developer experience team in Nokia, and my role is technical support towards developers. And one of my key role is helping developers here. So we're taking care of the technical support tickets. So we are a team in Tampere, 4 guys that are handling the Windows questions. So if you have any technical problems with your software, something that seems to be related to the Nokia devices that is not, and you cannot find the answer right away in Stack Overflow, it's a good idea to join the PDP, the Nokia Premium Developer Program, because you get us and you get a bunch of other great things that comes with it. Free membership to the Windows Phone Dev Center, direct RAT controls, and buddy.com. And it's pretty cheap too. So if you need any help, we're around to help. But let's get to the core of my presentation today, the camera lenses. As said, the lenses are new to Windows Phone 8. And what is a lens? A lens is basically just a different way how to call your application, how to start your application. You can think about it as a shortcut, if you like. So if you're in the viewfinder, you start the camera, the end user starts the camera, is in there, and right from the camera, you can start your application. Normally, if you don't define your application as a lens, your application will be seen in the application list from the home screen, and you can pin your application as a tile on the home screen. But now that's a third way how to start your application. Let's see some example of lenses here. So I have this wonderful Lumia 920 with me, and now I'm in the home screen, and as you can see, I've did been already a few applications in there that you might know that are lenses, but the first one is Cinemagraph, the second one Panorama, this is City Lens. All these are provided by Nokia for the Lumia devices. They are exclusive apps for your Lumia application. So I could start a Panorama application from the home screen, and it would just start. But what I can do as well is start the camera application and touch this button at the bottom right-hand side, and that's opening a dialog that lists, whoops, let me get in that mode. So you get a grid of all the applications that are known to be camera lenses. And in this case, I have Bing Vision, Camera Explorer, Panorama, the same Panorama application that I had before, Cinemagraph, and so on and so on. So from here, I can start the lens, and basically I end up in the same place where I was when I started the lens from the home screen. So a shortcut, your application is visible from the camera viewfinder. One more key advantage is that the Windows Phone Store is aware of that your application is a lens. So if you go and tap on the Find More Lenses, here it's not going to work because I don't have wireless, but it's going to start the store and tells you that all these applications, oh, it worked. Wonderful. So it gives me a list here of all the applications that have registered themselves as a lens. And again, it adds visibility to your application. I think that's the main benefit from you as a developer. Your application is shown in this grid, and it's also shown in this Find More Lenses. So it's more in a contextual way and makes it more interesting for the end users. When they are in the camera, they are looking for camera-related applications. Among these lenses, one of them is perhaps funny to see there. You see the CNN there. What does CNN has to do with that? So on this device, I have CNN application, and it's basically just a news reader. So when there's new news, it's shown in my CNN app. But they did add one functionality to their application that you can capture an image if there's a fire somewhere, or if there's something happening just next to you. You capture a video or you capture a still image, and then you upload it to CNN. And that's sort of a good case example for lenses. As long as it's used the camera, you can define your application as a lens. So that's the idea behind lenses. And let's just go ahead and code one of these. So I'm going to create a new project here, a Windows Phone 8 project. And the big thing about lenses, as you saw, it's just a matter of telling the Windows Phone 8 framework that, hey, my application is a lens, and just be aware that I'm a lens. And when you do that in the manifest. For those who are not so familiar with Windows Phone or with the manifest, in the manifest, you're going to have your application name. Here, let's call it the last presentation. Oh, that's a little too long. My lens. You can define your icons, your tile icons. You can define what's the screen resolution that you are doing. I'm not going to change any of those. The capabilities is a little bit more important in the case of a lens, because we want to use the camera And in order to use the camera, we need to ask the users, the guy that installed your application, we need to ask him the permission to use the camera. And we do that by specifying that we need the capability of RSV camera. So if I fail to do that and I'm using the camera APIs, the camera APIs will throw me an error that you're not allowed. The requirement is also an interesting tab in the case of lenses. The requirement is a way how to hide your application from the store. So if your application absolutely needs the front camera, I don't know, you're doing a mirror application or you're doing a video telephony application, you don't want that users that have a phone model that doesn't have a front camera download your application, tries it and say that, hey, it's crap, the camera doesn't work because there's no camera, and rate it with 1 star. So here you have a way how to remove yourself from the Windows Phone store. And that's according to the hardware of your hardware requirements. So here I'm going to say that you absolutely need a rear camera. The rear camera is this one. It's the big camera. All that is good. Now I can use camera APIs, and I can also, and my application will not be shown on phones that do not have a back camera. But that's not really what I want to do yet. I haven't told the system yet that I'm a lens. So what I will do here is get a little bit more hardcore and show this file, the manifest file, in code. So I'm going to look at the XML code, and here it's really the same content that we were looking with the UI, but now here in XML. And to define my application as a lens, the only thing I need to do is add these 3 lines to my manifest. And it's really a magic string, so you don't need to change a single number in there. Don't add any space, nothing like that. Just cut and paste this thing and paste it just right after the token ending. And now, voila, my phone, my application, my Hello World application, or my application that doesn't do anything, is now officially a lens. So now the system, the store, knows that my application is a lens, and the Windows Phone 8 framework also knows that my application is a lens. We'll do one last thing before starting the emulator. When you're in this view, so the grid view that lists all the lenses, there's these square tiles, and we will have to define those tiles and provide those tiles to the system. So that's what I'm going to do here. How do I get there? No. Sorry for that. How do I resize this thing? Well, so I'm going to take these 3 icons, 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1. Now when things start to go wrong, they go wrong. 1, 2, 3. So I'm taking these 3 icons, and I would have dragged them in my project, but let's see if pasting will work. Yes. So I take these 3 icons that I had. Let's look at one of them. It's just standard PNG files, square. You need to provide the 3 resolution, 720p, wide VGA, wide XGA. Again, here the name of the icons is really important. So it's a magic string. Again, your icons must be named like this: lens.screen / the resolution. So now we are all good. Normally, if the emulator is collaborative, I should get the emulator here. So my application starts. As said, it doesn't do anything because I just created a new project, and there's really nothing to see here, except that now my application is a lens. So normally I should see it from within the camera. So if I start the camera and click the lens, then you can see here that my application is now considered by the system as a lens, and I can start it from the camera application. So nothing more complicated than that to get a lens. It's 3 lines of code in your XAML just to tell the system and tell the store that, hey, I'm a lens. But if I would go now and submit this application to Microsoft, they would say, no way. This is not acceptable. You're not really a lens. So there are some UI requirements that you need to fulfill in order to get the approval from Microsoft to be in the store. And perhaps the most important one is that when you start the lens from the camera application, your application must start in a viewfinder view. So there must be the camera viewfinder, camera data shown to the end users. And that's something we can do pretty easily. So let's just go ahead and add viewfinder data to our application. Now I'm in my main page XAML file. I'm going to get rid of all this noise here. I don't want to have any. I just want to have a full screen of my viewfinder. So I'm adding a rectangle. That rectangle is also full screen. I'm going to fill this rectangle and normally you would fill a rectangle with perhaps a solid color brush. And here, when I'm selecting the color, I'm always selecting a different color so I can start understanding my wife a little bit better. I don't know what Firebrick is, so I'm going to use Firebrick here. So that's Firebrick color. Like you see, it's filling the whole screen. But this is not really what I want to do here. What I want to do is fill the screen with camera information. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set my fill with the video brush. I'm going to call that viewfinder brush and close this thing. So now I have the full screen will be filled with data that comes from the camera. Just before starting it, I would get rid of these things here, the system tray here on top. That's annoying, so I can get rid of it. You could leave it there. It's not part of the requirements. And I'm going to make my application in landscape because of the camera, the position of the camera shutter button. Normally, when you use the camera, you are in landscape orientation. So I'm done with the XAML side. Now I'm going to go to the code behind to hook my camera in there. So I'm going to add a loaded event here. And when the page is loaded, I'm going to initialize the camera. 2 things I need to do to start the camera. The first one, I'm gonna query the resolution of the camera. Here, this is the new API that comes with Windows Phone 8, and we're going to talk quite a lot about it today. Because it's great. It has a lot of new functionality. now I'm doing Control Dot for those who are not too aware of that shortcut, and IntelliSense has told me in which namespace I will find this new API. And let's have a look at this namespace a little bit before going further. The namespace starts with Windows, and that means here that this is not a .NET API. If it would be a .NET API, it would start with System. Now it starts with Windows. So it's a Windows PRT, Windows Phone Runtime API. And what it means for you as a developer, well, first, it doesn't work on Windows Phone 7 because the Windows Phone RT is new to Windows Phone 8. It also means that you can use that API in the native code, in the C++. And also, you can use it on the managed code in C#. So we'll stick on the C# today. But everything that I'm going to present today, you can do it on the native side as well if you want to. The next part of the namespace is phone. And again, that gives you some clues here. This is only available for phone. So for the tablet, for Windows 8, the big desktop, this API will not work for you. There's another API for the camera. So let's go back to what we were doing, initializing the camera. So I'm having the photo capture device. There's a static method in there called getAvailable capture resolutions, and the parameter I need to give is which camera I want to get the resolution of. So that's, again, the front camera and the back camera here. I'm going to go with the back camera. What that function does, it returns me an array of supported resolution. So it's going to tell me for the 920, for example, that there's 8 megapixel. I can do that. I can do 5 megapixel, and I can also do VGA resolution if you prefer. So I'm getting that array of resolution. And now I'm going to get a photo capture object, photo capture device object. Let's make it private here. And again, I'm going to call a static method called openAsync. And openAsync takes two parameters. Again, the camera sensor location, it's the back, and then here one resolution, initial resolution. I'm going to use the resolution array that I got when I pulled it on the previous line, and I'm going to use the first element of that array, which happens to be the biggest one. So it's a standard. When you go with 0, you get the highest resolution, and it's going to be 8 megapixel in this case. Now it's still IntelliSense still complain because now I'm using async method. I should await for it, and I should declare my function as async. So now we're all green. Cool. So after the open async, what happened, or what will happen on the hardware, is that the camera is initialized and it's powered on and it's ready to use. So right after that, you can start using it. And this is what we're going to do now. Remember the viewfinder brush that we defined in the XAML that we're going to use to fill the rectangle. Here, I'm going to set the source of that brush to be the camera. Set source view. Now I just have two overloads here, and none of them takes the camera, so I need to add one namespace called Microsoft Devices. So you'll have to look at the documentation to get these little tricks, but that's not very complicated. So now I have 4 extensions, and one of them will take a camera. And that's it. Now I'm going to have a live viewfinder in my application. Now this is the emulator, so it doesn't really have camera input. So the emulator is simulating, or is doing this bouncing block But on a real device, I cannot do that today. But on a real device, that would be just a normal camera feed that would be shown full screen on your device. Well, that's cool. Let's go back here. So that we made our first lens. We have also some other ways, or developers have other ways how they can integrate into the phone so that your application is more visible. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want that users remember you, that they start your application so that you either propose them to upgrade to the full version, or you use some ads there to generate some revenues. So you really want that the end users to end up in your application. There are these three here that you can use to be in the Photos hub. So that the Photos hub is the place where the end user looks at the picture he captured, and the share picker is just when you say share here, your application can be shown there. The edit picker, there's an edit also, and your application can be shown there. But more interestingly is this here, the rich media apps, which you can see in here. We have some time. Let's just look at it on the device. So I'm starting the Photos application, going to my camera roll, and there I have a bunch of photos. And these are photos I took upstairs yesterday, and this one, which I took in one talk earlier today. And as you can perhaps see, you don't see it in the back, but the people at front might see it. It's written here, captured by voice memo. Voice memo is just a sample application that I found in some websites. And here, the end user can do, if they open the menu, there is now in the menu one entry that is called Open in Voice Memo. So first of all, the user is reminded that your application exists, and if it's somebody else than the user that took the picture that is browsing the pictures, then they might also ask, what is that application, and can you show it to me? So it's a good way of having more visibility to your application. But if you open in the application, then the application is started, and it gets the context of when the application was, when the photos was captured. So now I have the photos that was captured, and because it's a voice memo, I have the voice that I recorded at the same time that I took the picture. So that's sort of one use case you could think with this new rich media apps functionality coming with Windows Phone 8. But let's move on. So now we saw how to integrate better your application. I'm going to go down, I'm too tall. And now we would like to capture some images. And again, here in Windows Phone 8, there's a lot of new functionality that allows you to capture images. But one thing you need to, one thing that is new is that you can really control the camera capture parameters, and you really have fine-grained control over the capture parameters. So you have control over the autofocus range. You can control the preview and the capture resolution, of course, exposure compensation, exposure time, the flash mode, the focus illumination mode. So when the phone is focusing, it might it's normally having this light that helps him doing the focus. You can disable that if you don't want it in your application. You can control the ISO, control the manual focus positions, and there's actually quite many positions where you can set the focus here, a bunch of scene modes, and white balance presets. So all of those, the end users or the developers have access to that if that's something you want in your application. But here, there's something that with great powers come great responsibilities. As you see in the 920, between the front and the back camera, there's already a lot of differences. So the front camera, this video telephony camera, doesn't have too much functionality. It doesn't have a flash. It doesn't have focus. And it doesn't support as long exposure time, for example, than the big camera at the back. So your application must take care of not asking the API or giving the API some stupid values, because otherwise the system will just throw you an exception and might just kill your application. And that's one reason that now if you're interested in using these parameters, you should be more aware of the devices you're running on. And the phone models, and being, so basically knowing the phone models that your application might run on. Now, this is the Lumia 920, and as one of the great features of the Lumia 920 is the optical image stabilizations that makes your videos recording much more steady. The guys from Engadget came to Tampere just last autumn and shot that video.
At Nokia's facilities where they do a lot of the imaging stuff, and guess what we have here? A Nokia Lumia 920, which is optical image stabilization, and an iPhone 5. And we're going to walk and do some video recording and test this out and see if see how well it holds up, right? Obviously, this is the big question everybody has. So I'm holding this little rig, as you can see, a very high-tech, mechanically machined rig in the middle between the two cameras, pretty much equally. And just walking across the parking lot over there. Correct?
Yeah.
So to hit record on this?
Just touch it.
Just touch it,
yeah.
Anywhere. Okay, so let's do this. Start the iPhone. Alright, here we go.
Now we see the results.
I'm going to follow
and
you.
Normally, if the projector is not too bad, you should see that the 920 bounces much less than the iPhone 5. So your application gets that for free. It's a hardware feature. And if you do video recording, your application will just get that. And this guy is not a Tampere paparazzi, by the way. He's just an Engadget guy. We don't have artists too often in the Nokia Hermia in Tampere. So that was a big event.
As you can see, it's a lovely gray day. It's not very cold, though. So this is really the true test. You know, people are just going to be walking and wanting to make videos. See if I can get you there, Zach.
So that's about it for this video. So that's as I said, this is a hardware feature, so whenever you do record video in your application, they are going to be more stable. You don't have control over that, so there's no APIs to disable it. It's just there, and it's great. Then it's again back to the guys from Tampere. As I told you, the guys that did the sensor in the 920 are from Tampere. The R&D is done in Tampere, and they really went crazy when it comes to low performance, low light performance. And I have my little theory on that. As you all know now, in Tampere in the autumn time, November, it's cold, it's wet, and it's dark, and I think that's why. It's just a natural place where to take low-light images. You don't have other possibilities. So they took a lot of low-light images, and for the 920, the key thing to get a great image when you're in low light is to get as much light as possible into the sensor. And they did 4 tricks to do that. They use a wide-angle lens. They use a large aperture, f2.0. They are using a huge sensor with huge pixel, 1.4 microns, instead of 1.1 for the competition. And again here, the optical image stabilizations come into place because it eliminates the shake of your hand. You can have longer exposure, and that means more light that hits your sensor. So at the end of the day, a better image in low light. And the guys from Tampere, again, developed the best algorithms to process all those images made in Finland. So low light performance on the 920 is really good. This picture was taken with another phone, another manufacturer phone, a high-end phone, and that's the one captured with the 920. So you see there's much more details in there. We had a booth upstairs, and perhaps it's still going to be there after my talk. You can try your device against the 920 if you want and see if I'm speaking the truth or this is just marketing. The phones, the Lumia phones come with plenty of application. You saw there was Panorama in there, City Lens and others. It also comes with a Cinemagraph where you can do goofy animations like these. Now we have the Lumia 720 that we launched in Barcelona just last week. The big thing about this phone is the camera. So it has a good camera and it has a mid-range price. So they took some of the good things that were in the 920 in the camera subsystem and brought it to a lower price range. For example, the aperture, so the size of the hole that lets the light in, is f1.9. So it's even a larger aperture than the 920. So that's going to capture really great images. Now that's quite a lot of phones, and as we saw, the parameters of the camera differs when you use the front camera or you use the back camera. And almost all our phones, Nokia phones, do have different cameras. So of course, when we go towards the lower price point, the cameras are not as good as the high-end devices. And this is a new service that was launched a week ago again in Mobile World Congress, and that should be very interesting for you. What happens is you go to this, I don't have the address, but if you Bing the remote device access, you're going to end up in the Nokia developer pages, and there's a web portal. It has a list of phones that you can use. So what we have here we have in Tampere again a big lab with phones, and as a developer, you can deploy your application to those phones. You can debug your application on those phones remotely, and of course you can capture images with those phones as well. So you can try if your application, if your camera lenses are working nicely on the 620, or are they working nicely on the 820, or also working on the 920. We'll bring, as soon as the 720 and the 520s are available on the market, we'll bring them as well to the remote device access. So it's it's a cheap way. You don't need to buy the devices. It costs nothing. It's just going to Nokia developer, and you're going to reserve some time. You might reserve 2 or 1 hour of use time, wait for your slot, and then deploy your application, test your applications. So that's really something that you have to check out. And when it comes to the sensor size and what are the resolutions, what is the F number and all that, there's a wealth of information on developer.nokia.com devices and device specification. It is much more techy than what you could expect. So there's a lot of technical information over there. But let's go back to the coding. That's why I was here. And now it's very important. If you use this new API, the photo capture device, it's really important that you poll before your setting. So in this example here, I would like to change the exposure time, and I would like to make it as long as possible. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use this get supported property range. That's a static call that I'm doing to the photo capture device, and it's going to return me back the minimum and the maximum value of the exposure time. And based on that, I can use the minimum, the maximum, or anything in between. But that's really important. So this value, the exposure time, might vary between each of the devices. So do poll before setting, so that your application will work across all the devices and not just on the device that you're testing on. The photo capture device is relatively complicated to get started with. But let's look at what are the normal steps you're going to go through to capture an image. We already did the first part here, the opening in the code sample that I showed. So we just do an open async in there. Then we need to create a sequence. And the reason behind the sequence is that the API was created so that you can capture several images in a row as fast as possible. And you might want to change the parameters of the capture between each of the frames. So you might want to have a low exposure frame first and then a highly exposed frame. And get them as short as possible and let the user do something with these two frames. Perhaps he prefers the first one or the second one. So that's why the API is so much based on the sequence. So you need to create a sequence first. Now, this is a little bit goofy, but right now with Windows Phone 8, the parameter you pass here, it's the number of frames. And with Windows Phone 8, it's limited to 1. So there's not multiple capture frames supported yet. We're waiting for the update for that. So at the moment, stick to 1 in there. Then the idea is that for each frame, you define where you want to save the frame. In this case, I'm saving the only frame I'm going to capture. I'm saving it to into a memory stream. And then you call prepare. And that's an async call. You call prepare, capture sequence async. You wait for that. What happens there is that the camera subsystem will just reserve all the memory needed. It will power on the right parts of the image processors and all that. And when you get when you get back from the await, then you can start the capture. So normally you will prepare your stuff and wait for the users to press one button. That's going to start the captures. And you're going to get back in your buffer here, the memory stream buffer, you're going to get back the image that you requested. That image is a JPEG. It's a big one, 8 megapixel or something like that. You can use it if you want. It's probably more convenient and faster for you to use the preview images, which is a smaller image that the APIs provides you as well. So it's smaller, it's a bitmap, and it's not a JPEG, it's a bitmap. So the system doesn't need to decode it before displaying on the screen. So it's going to give you a little bit of a speed bump by using that preview. So that's really quickly the APIs, how you would use this new API. Just before going to the Q&A, I'd like to show you two really valuable demo or projects that you can use to get you started. The first one comes from Microsoft. It's called the Basic Lens Sample. And you're going to find that on MSDN. So you go in MSDN, goes to code sample, search for lens, and you're going to get this. And this is just wonderful. So it shows you how to start the viewfinder frame like we did. And when you take a picture, shows you how to do an animation there that does the picture. And then the fly out animation, the same as the built-in camera, is in that code sample as well. So you don't need to do the animation. It's there already. But there's more than that. If you go, you can swipe to the left and right, and then you have functionality that is very similar to the built-in camera, where you can look at the old images, and the zooming also works in there. So to get you started doing photo or a camera-related application, this is just a real gold mine. That's the best place to start. Then on the NokiaDeveloper.com website, you're going to find the Camera Explorer application. And that one is nice because it lists, it lists all the settings that your phone currently supports. So it shows you how to poll the device, what are the settings that you support, and it shows them on a easy way here, so you can change them as you want. Could change the exposure compensation. So all the parameters that are supplied with this new photo capture device APIs are exercised in this application. So if you want to use any of those, this is really a good place to get the hints how to use them. So really, if you want to start now, and I hope you do, if you want to start developing your own lens applications, download these two code samples. It's really the best way to get started. That's pretty much it, what I wanted to talk about today. And I can show the final slide here, which is just, we're inviting you to the Nokia Lumia developer library at developer.com. We have more examples. So here you see the that's the Camera Explorer, but we do have some examples for maps, for the Nokia Music APIs, for the NFC. So there's plenty of small programs that you can download the source code and then get started with those. www.developer.nokia.com. And on that, thanks for coming. We have questions, and we have some goodies that we can give to the best questions. Yes? Yes, so you have access to the... Oh, yes, the question was, can you manipulate the stream, the video stream coming from the camera in real time to do effects like black and white or whatever other effects? And yes, you can do it. And there's some very good wiki articles that will tell you how to do it in an efficient way, because now the phones, all the Windows Phone 8 phones do have dual cores plus a good GPU, a graphic accelerator, and you can use the GPU to do your processing in there. So there's some nice articles on www.nokia.com how you could use the GPU in order to process your frame, if that's something that you need. There's also another blog that tells you how to use the Neon instruction set. So basically, you're getting very close to assembly language, and how to use the Neon instruction sets to make your filters in an efficient way, if you need to. Of course, you can stay in C# and do some filtering there. But if it gets to more complicated filters, perhaps you will want to go towards the graphic processor or then the Neon instruction sets. Yes?
Yeah. Hi. The question is, last time when I was checking the videos, I understood that it is possible to remember, the hardware button to take photos, if I set it to CNN, some kind of lens, and then I, lock and unlock and try to access the camera again from the hardware button, does it remember that?
No, the developers do not have access to that. So your application can say, when your application is in the foreground, you have access to the camera button, and you say, camera button can take a picture or, I don't know, make a sound or do whatever crazy thing that fits well to your application.
So I cannot configure my lens to, let's say I'm in a particular context. Let's say today we are here. I like to take few panorama photographs, and I have configured the lens to panorama lens, and then I have to do this again and again. You open the camera and you set the lens again and again before you.
Yes. So there's no favorite lens, and if you're, I don't know, you're reading your mail or you're on a home screen, you press the camera key, it will always start the main built-in camera. Okay,
so now I'm very sure that there is a video in channel line that says from a little bit differently. It says that as a developer you can actually configure the button. Yeah, it's also for me to go back and check. So thanks.
That's good. I'll also check on channel 9 what they say there. But my understanding is, yes, the application can use the camera button, but they cannot change the meaning of the camera button when the application is closed. So it's only when the application is in foreground that you can change the meaning of the camera button. Yes?
Okay. You were talking about changing the camera parameters and, for example, making a longer exposure time for special occasions. What happens to the other parameters? For example, if I change it to a longer time, do I get an overexposed images, or do I have to take care of the other parameters to adjust?
It's your problem, so yes, you need to take care that if you set a longer exposure, perhaps you will use a lower ISO value.
Okay, thank you.
There was a question over there.
Actually, my question was about the same. If I make my own lens application for nighttime photographing, so I could, if I understood right, I could set all the parameters so that I have ready application for nighttime photographing by activating the lens.
Yeah, definitely. So you will have, you can make your own application that will have long exposure time and low ISO and long or higher EV compensation. All these tricks, and it can be your default of your application, or your application can do only that. It's meant to be a night lens, and it's only that. It's configured like that when you start the viewfinder, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I have a question. If the hardware support the burst taking the picture and able to store on isolated storage, so not taking pictures and temporarily store in memory, but instead just Berthier write to the isolated storage.
Yes, you can do that. So, but the burst doesn't work. So the hardware, well, how to say that? The hardware would support the burst, but the support is not there yet.
Yeah, you specify that only one frame we can run. But if we repeat this core code in a cycle, for example,
definitely, you can do it. It's just that it's not going to be as fast as it would be natively supported by the hardware and the operating system. Okay. So that's something you can definitely do. You prepare the camera, take a picture, right away prepare another shot, take a picture. So that you can do that repeatedly. And that's going to give you pretty good results. What I've seen, most apps do actually, they just use the viewfinder frame. So you get a frame every 15 milliseconds. It's not a high resolution frame. It's HD screen, so 720p resolution. But for most apps, that's pretty decent resolution. So they just take this frame, save it somewhere, and then offers it to the end user. They do whatever functionality with that resolution, and that seems to work pretty well.
Okay, but if you want to save the high resolution pictures isolated storage speed is faster than taking these pictures.
No, it's going to be faster on memory.
Yeah,
because
you don't have much memory.
No, you don't have. So you need to handle your memory cleverly in there.
Thanks.
How about video support for the lenses?
You can record video with the lenses, so that's not a problem. You don't need to capture images for lenses, so as long as there's a viewfinder, then that's working. The video support is somewhat more limited than the still image capture, so basically it's only start a video, stop a video. That's sort of the functionality that you're going to have when you're recording a video. All right, I think we are all done here. Thanks a lot for joining. Thanks for coming to the Tech Days. I hope you enjoyed your time, and see you next time.